disappointment for those who don't know. I am not rock royalty. I am not Stella McCartney, but I admire tremendously her stand and the way that she has built a brand on her beliefs. She was in New York last night accepting an award for her environmental work. She is with us in spirit, and she's with us on video because I talked to her in London. See what Stella has to say about building her sound, responsible brand. This is Suzy Menkes from the International Herald Tribune with Stella McCartney, who was unable to come in person to the International Herald Tribune conference on sustainable luxury, but who has a lot of ideas to talk about that she's transferring by video. So Stella, there's a lot of talk now about ethical fashion, about being friendly to the environment, about being serious, but you have been responsible right through your fashion line. Tell us about the beginnings.
Well, I guess for me, it came very naturally for me. I was brought up on an organic farm in the countryside with, and we were all vegetarian, so it was sort of, it came without thinking, I guess. But then when it came to me having a career and starting a job and starting a brand in fashion, I guess it wouldn't have ever sat comfortably with me to have been hypocritical. So I guess that was the starting point. The seeds were already sown in my personal life, and then they came into my business life.
Can you define for us exactly what you do and don't do? People say Stella doesn't do fur, we know, Stella doesn't do leather. Tell us what you do, the positive side.
Well, I don't do leather and I don't do fur, and it's not just because I don't eat animals or that I don't think that half a billion animals a year shouldn't be killed for the sake of fashion, but it's because I also believe very much in the connection between fur and leather and the environment. There's a huge connection now, and more I think people will start to take notice of that, and the use of water for tanneries, and the sort of the chemicals that are used, and there's a huge impact that has environmentally. But not only on that, I try and just think responsibly in the way that I approach business. So we have stores, for instance, around the world, and the majority of them are powered by wind power. Our business, our headquarters is powered by wind, and we have bags. They're all recycled paper. We have biodegradable corn bags. We just very conscious. We just think like that, and it just is sort of part of everyday life now for me and for the people that work with me.
We know, of course, that people in the West are those who have done so much to hurt the environment. Can we now, that's people from the West, really come to a country like India and say, hey, we did it wrong, but you've got to do it right now?
Well, I think more and more we have to think globally. We have to address the world as a big round thing spinning in the universe. It can't just be sort of isolated, and of course we can't sit and point the finger at other countries and tell them to learn from our mistakes. But at the same time, we have to be responsible, and the consumer also has to ask questions and has to act accordingly. India is one of the largest leather producers in the world, and it's not necessarily their fault, but they are, and that has huge impacts on the pollution in the rivers, and India lives off the rivers more than most countries, and I think that we have to be responsible when we work with India. We have to ask of them the correct things, and we have to give them the tools to change in a positive way.
If you had been with us in India, as you were going to be when the troubles came in Mumbai, if you were facing Indian designers, young designers here, what sort of message would you give them about how to build a business both fairly and also on fashion?
Well, I would tell them to work hard, and I would tell them to enjoy every minute. But I would tell them to think responsibly and to act responsibly now, and to not isolate the fashion industry as the one industry, it seems, left on the planet that isn't thinking this way. And I would sort of reach out to them and say, think in the same way as all of these other huge companies now that are really addressing the environment and trying to work hand in hand with it, and to not do the usual kind of fashion thing, which is, we're above that and we don't care. I think, any company now starting in the world in any field has to work with the resources that we have, and it can create as good, if not a better product in doing that.
I know that you've worked with India. What's been your experience?
Well, I have only had great experiences when working with India. I very much admire their handwork. I work a lot with embroideries in India, and I think they have an incredible work ethic. And I think it's very important. My brand is very interested in working with local people in England, working with people in Italy, and working with organic fabrics in Japan. And with India, we really try and take the best from India. And I think that they have an incredible hand, an incredible eye, and fantastic access to materials, and really a great level of quality that I very much admire.
What would you say if someone said to you, well, it's all very well for you, you were born into a wealthy family, you've always had everything that you wanted. How could we help people who have nothing to take the same environmental attitudes?
Well, you have to encourage them, you have to try to educate people, you have to try and help people. I mean, I'm not of the kind of school of take, take, take. We're very much a brand that tries to give back, that tries to work with people in all different areas of all different scales and sizes. We try to create products that are accessible from a £10 t-shirt to a £150 t-shirt. We very much believe that it's not about all or nothing, but it's about something is better than nothing. And I think that when it comes to trying to look at the environment and trying to work responsibly with it in business, I think it's good to know that you can just do a little bit and it's better than nothing. It's very hard when you're looking at that kind of question to feel like you're doing everything perfectly. I mean, I can work with an organic fabric from Japan, but I still have to fly it around the world to get it into a store. So you're always faced with problems. But I think that my answer would be to encourage people to do their best, and something is better than nothing.
You could say that fashion, because it's always about change, can never really be sustainable, except perhaps for the sari. Do you believe that that kind of dress, something that changes of course but evolves, not changing dramatically, can really be helpful to fashion and style?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a perfect example. The sari is an incredible, historic, stunning piece of material that is used in such an incredible way. And the history there is it'll always be there. But I think that you can also compare that to things like Savile Row bespoke tailoring, which is where I trained in London on Savile Row. And, I wear the same bespoke jacket that I've worn for 10 years. And I think that you can apply those same rules to different areas of fashion. I'm very much not a designer about disposable fashion, so you're kind of barking up either the right tree or the wrong tree there. But I very much believe in creating pieces that aren't going to get burnt, that aren't going to go into landfills, that aren't going to sort of damage the environment there either. I think it's very interesting. We're working in a very interesting day and age, really, in this industry. And I think that my take on it is to learn and try to change and change and change, but not necessarily change in silhouette or, in colour every season. For me, it's about materials. And I'm really excited as a designer to create a pair of boots that are made out of biodegradable suede, fake suede. I'm like, okay, that's really interesting. And it's really, I think, the job of fashion designers now to turn things on their head in a different way, not to just try and turn a dress on its head every season. Try and ask questions about how you make that dress, where you make that dress, what materials you're using, and, I think that's far more interesting, actually.
You're a mother as well as a fashion designer. You have 3 children. Do you have a message for those Indian women out there sewing for you and for many other fashion designers?
I would say thank you, and we're all working mothers or women. I would say, I hope that they're being treated fairly. I hope that they're getting paid the correct amount of money for the work that they're doing. And I would more sort of reach out to the people that are utilising their talents and ask them to ask those questions of themselves. I mean, I know that it's very important to us as a brand to treat people fairly. And I think, there are huge problems in the world today, in every industry, about treating women correctly, actually. It's something that my partners, PPR, have just started a great foundation to address the needs of women and try to give them back the power that they deserve and make sure that they're being treated fairly. So, I would say to those women, just, be proud and be strong and keep up the good work and make sure you get treated fairly in the time that you're doing it.
Stella McCartney. The International Herald Tribune conference
you.
in Delhi, even if it's by video.
I know, I'm so sorry that I can't be there. I was so excited about coming on the previous occasion, but next time.